let's go ahead and get started. So we've got some things coming up and some changes around Soarian. This is going to be relatively Soarian heavy. There are some things at the end related to some support requests and some things about some partner opportunities that hopefully some of you will be interested in. But we'll go ahead and get started with this one for today. So this is segment number 11, and we are going to be presenting today, I am at least, Kelly Blackman. I'm the product manager here at Databound. Many of you have probably heard me before. Many of you probably know me, so there's not a lot to gain from that slide, but a little bit of housekeeping here. We've got a new tool we're trying out. It's called Zoom. You guys have probably used it before. You know, I have allowed the people that have joined to talk, but if you want to unmute yourself, you have the ability to do that. And to just go to participants, and then you can set yourself up for that whenever we do have an opportunity for questions and answers. If you do have any difficulties being able to chat or talk or speak or anything through the application, you can contact Mike Harris. He is producing for me today, we'll say. He is there to help us out and support us as we go through the presentation for today. So, and then later on, we will have questions at the end. If you do have anything you want to raise, you can also send them through the chat. There's a QA option as well, if you're familiar with this, where we can, everybody can see the questions and the answers. So it's a pretty good opportunity if you want to pose a question without using the phone. We are recording this webinar as we have for the rest of the ones that we've done, and we posted out on our website. The easiest thing to do is just go to databoundhealthcare.com, and up in there's a community section. Underneath that, you'll see the training resources, and then there's where all the videos for the webinars we have are posted on that page. All right, so as I mentioned, we're going to be focusing a lot on Soarian. There's a lot of big changes with 42200, 42300. A new feature that we're including in EMUE, which we're calling Smart UI. I want to introduce that a little bit as well. We're making some good progress on that. And then I'm going to talking about some customer support, some customer success opportunities, just to share some of the top support cases we've had over the last few months, and send some resources out there to maybe help you walk through some of that if you're having some trouble. So let's just go ahead and dive right in. I did initially plan to include some dashboard as well, but I didn't think I had enough time to be able to get all that in that I wanted to do. So I did cut that. There is going to be more to come on the dashboard, which I'll mention at the end of it. All right. So I want to start off with the stream monitoring tool. Hopefully you all have been getting some communication on this. We've sent this out before, but basically what we've done is we've done some marketing around this free script. It's a promotional script that we're trying to utilize like we used for the EMUE editor when we had Ollie customers. I don't know if any of you remember Ollie or not, but we gave away the EMUE editor just to help with syntax and to help construction of the scripts and that sort of thing. So what we did here was basically build a free tool. It's a run-only script. You can't edit it. You can't do anything to it except put in your URL and your username, password stuff to get into Soarian. And so it's designed to work with any Soarian system. It's really meant to give some limited value for people that might want to consider purchasing EMUE. It's kind of like, hey, let me try it out a little bit. So this tool simply just goes in and reads the interfaces and provides an error count. So on the right-hand side, you'll see the output of a run. So there's a couple of different interfaces there, and then error counts that are associated with that. So it's really good to at least give you high-level information. If you wanted to do something like this and run it every single day, you could just pop it out there, schedule it, and let it run. It reduces a lot of the manual effort that people are having to go and do. And a lot of our users have been doing something very similar for years, and so we thought it would be a really good tool and something that we wanted to share with a larger community. So we do have a space, again, on our website if you want to go and read a little bit more about it, and the script is also in the script library. So So the previous thing I just talked about was just scanning these interfaces and giving you an error count. Obviously, you can do a little more with Stream, and I don't know if everybody is aware of. Sometimes it's very difficult to navigate some of these trees on the left-hand side of the screen that you see over here. And but EMUE can do that. It can actually go into Stream, open up the transactions, read the XML, extract information out of that. And a lot of people are using that to really build reports for different groups to go back and address these errors. Again, it takes out the manual work in it, so you don't have to go out and figure out, okay, what needs to be done. You just provide a report to the appropriate people that need to be able to take action on these items. So anyway, that's another level that's not included in the free script, obviously, because there's different things that people want to do at different levels as far as details go. So this is something that EMUE can do. If you are not using it already, it might be a good opportunity for you to help save some time and improve your business process. The one thing that I will say is that a note down at the bottom, when you go to 42300, I know there's a couple of beta testers out there right now, but no one else is on it yet. But Stream will be opening in a new window. So if you are scripting it, that'll be a change that you'll have to make. And we're keeping track of those as well. So we'll keep you updated on it. But right now, the behavior is you click on Stream, it just opens up in the current window. But once you go to 42300, it opens in a different browser. So script updates will be required. So the next thing I want to do is take a poll just for our purposes. I want to do a 2-question poll, and primarily is to give us a sense of the current state of Soarian deployments. It's good for us because we can use the information to be prepared for changes that are upcoming and things that we need to support. So knowing, when people are moving off of older versions, going to new versions, taking upgrades, we can do a better job of communicating the changes from our side that need to be done in order to keep you guys up and running. So I'm going to give this a shot here. The first one. Okay. Basically, this is just a question. What is your current production version of Soarian Financials? And you have 4.1, 4.2, 4.2.100, 4.2.200. And I'll leave it open for just a few seconds here. So results is out of 13 people that voted, 7 of you on 4.2.200 and 6 on 4.2.100. So that's good information to know. Appreciate that. The second thing I want to do is one more poll and looking at in 3 months from now, what version are you going to be running? Again, this is just to give us a little bit of a timeline about when our customers are going to be moving, so we can make sure that you're in good shape. I can see why a lot of you joined the session today. 3 people going to 4.2.200, 8 going to 4.2.300 within the next 3 months. So that's pretty important. And then we've got some folks that are just moving to 4.2.100 as well within the next 3 months. So I appreciate the feedback there. That really gives us what we need to know in order to be able to have some of the features ready in EMUE within the next couple of months. So I appreciate the feedback. So let's just move right into it then. 4.2.200, it's been out there for a few sites for a while now, I think since the beginning of the year, maybe around February is when that was launched. By far the biggest changes with 4.2.200 are tables to grids. If you have attended the previous webcast, we did a whole webinar on that particular change. So there is some resources that are already available to you for 4.2.200. The very first thing, there's a forum post out on our website that documents the changes that are required, the new commands. So there's kind of some text documentation there, if you will. And then the second link there is a recording from the one that I just mentioned, where we talked about all the new commands and examples about how to use that in EMUE. And then as well, the latest version of EMUE and Smart Names files are all out on the downloads page on our website as well. So there's some things there. If you're going to 4.2.200, should be in really good shape at this point. because we've been able to keep up with that in a timely fashion. But I do want to revisit a little bit of the specific details around that. So the big thing was, like I said, grids. Almost every table that is out there, there are some exceptions, but I would say probably 90% of tables are now converted to grids. And so what that means is get web table doesn't work anymore, for example. Some of the commands that you used before to select things in the table have changed. So we created new commands to be able to accommodate that. And click web grid cell is one of them. Get web grid is another. Find web grid row is the third new command that we created. So you'll see that the tables or the grids will look very similar, if not identical to what you saw before, but the entire back end structure of them has changed. And so it does affect how EMUE interacts with it. So let's just look at a couple of these real quick here. Get web grid, again, used to extract data out of the grid that used to be a table. So it really behaves exactly the same way that get web table did before. It works actually much faster than get web table. With some of the information that the Soarian development team has shared with us, we've been able to make some improvements in speed in some of these areas, in particular the smart UI stuff, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But get web grid is going to behave exactly like get web table. The only thing that's different, it's a new command name, and the element string is different as well. So it won't be a table element anymore. These grids, we're referring to them as grids, but when you get down to the actual element level, they're div sections. Okay, what we call div sections, they're just a div in HTML terms. So that one's pretty straightforward. That's probably the easiest one that you're going to use. Here's the example of the syntax there. You can use it either with an element string or you can use it with a smart name. So if you're using smart names, there's really, you will need to change that too, because we've changed those from tables to grids to line up with the new element strings as well. So a little bit of maintenance to do on this. But if you're using smart names, that should help you in the long run. The other command that I want to go over is click web grid cell. This is probably the more challenging one, just because of the way we're doing. There's a lot of things happening in this command. Before, what we would do is if we wanted to click on a cell within a table, we would probably do a get web element from container, or we would be looking for a specific string or a specific checkbox or something like that, and we would say, do a click web element on it. Grids are a little bit different because in order to be able to interact with something, it actually has to be visible on the screen. So for instance, the grids, if you have a scroll bar on it, the row that you're trying to click on has to actually be visible on the screen. And before with tables, it didn't matter like that way, but with grids, it does. So there's a few other things that we're doing in the click web grid cell that is different than just the way we were doing it. So number one is it has to be visible. Number two, we're doing a search string. So the syntax looks a little bit different than what you're used to. So over here, you've got your element string or smart name, whichever one. And then this part here, where it's got the search string variable inside the curly braces, this is representative of the grid itself. The pipes that you see in that string designate columns. So in this case, you've got 1 column, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. Okay, so if you're looking for something in column 1, you're going to put it before the first pipe. If you're searching for something in column 2, you're going to be putting it in between pipe 1 and pipe 2. We happen to be looking for a value in column 4 here, so that's the reason that our variable is sitting here in the 4th column. So the pipes represent column dividers, if that makes sense. And then this last number down here at the end is the actual cell you want to click on. Okay, so if you want to click on column 1, you say column 1. I want you to find this string in column 4, but I want you to click on actual physically column 1. Okay, so if you think about it in terms of searching in a grid, rows and columns, this part finds the row and this is the column, and so it finds that cell and clicks it. Okay. The other thing that this allows you to do is we have included wildcard searching here. So if you only have a partial match or you want to include multiple values in there or something like that, you can do wildcard searching as well. And the way this works is that if you put values in every single column, EMUE will have to find a match, okay, for every one of those values in each of those columns in order for it to find the right row. So if it doesn't find the right string in that particular row in anywhere in that grid, you will get an error return that says it can't find the web grid row. Okay, so very similar as what you see before. We do accept the element identifier, we do the smart names, pass the search criteria, and the column number that you want to click on. So here is kind of a script example. This happens to be the charge error work list, and just a snippet of code here, but this is the get web grid, the list name, and then the name of the grid that you want to extract. And then if you want to click on a specific grid cell, okay, this happens to be a checkbox. Column 1 happens to be a checkbox on the charge error work list. So we're looking in column 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we're looking for a specific error date in column 8, and then we're looking for the patient name in column 9. So we're trying to find a match. We want to find a match on the patient name and the charge error date. And when we find that row, we click the checkbox to select that row. Okay. So I think it's relatively straightforward. There, like I said before, there are some resources that are already available, and you can always reach out to our support if you have questions about how to implement some of these. So, Mike, I haven't been monitoring the QA. Do you know if there are any questions at this point that we need to cover?
Nope, nothing in the QA just yet.
Okay, cool. All right, so that's really the big changes for 42200. I will mention that the smart name file is available already, and it has been tested. So we're up to date on everything that you had previously had in your scripts that were smart names. I encourage you to go get that, and I also encourage you to do testing beforehand. I would not advise you to wait until you go live to test out your EMUE scripts. Some people have production scripts that really are impacting their day-to-day activity. So if you're using EMUE for critical processes, please make sure that you test everything out before you go live. Some people do, some people kind of do, but we always recommend a thorough test if you can. All right, so moving on to 42300, there's actually a bit of information here already. There's a forum post I sent out yesterday. You may have gotten it. Describes some of the changes into the UI and some the changes that are required to EMUE. Again, we're going to have our latest version of EMUE that addresses most of these 42300 changes. This is going to be available, if not end of day tomorrow, it'll be available on Monday. The number one thing you're going to see with all of your scripts is everything on the home page has been changed. Every element string on the home page is now different. The thing that happened is they changed from a table cell to a div. So if you're using element strings on your home page, your scripts are never going to get past the first command unless you change that. So be aware of that. That's the number one thing you're going to have to account for. Again, we've already updated our 42300 smart name file as well, and we're wrapping up the changes to that this week as well. So we'll have all of that stuff hopefully prepared in time for the majority of you that are going on 42300. All right, so I'm just going to go through what we have seen so far in working with the two beta sites. Image buttons is the first thing that came up. If you've ever worked with any of these where you're doing some stuff maybe in the master file, or this one happens to be on the care provider section, but any of these buttons that have images, we used to interact with those kind of in a workaround, one-off way with send key to web element, where we send a carriage return to those elements, and that's probably worked for the last 5 years. Now it doesn't work anymore. So they required another event to be fired on this particular control. If you're using the old versions of EMUE, and I mean by that 1093 or earlier, there is a workaround for it. It's these 3 fire web event commands. You have to do the mouse over, mouse down, and mouse up in order to click on that button or any of these buttons. In 1094, we've resolved that, so now you don't have to do any of the kind of workaround bubble gum and duct tape kind of approach to it. You can just do a click web element, and that'll solve all the problems. So we've coded that so that it will work with this control. So moral of the story is just upgrade to 1094. You will have to probably change the command, but you're going to have to change it either way from this to this. Okay, from send web element to click. Discovered some issues with the way we are setting values in the drop-down list, also known as the combo box. So there's a difference between like a regular input list and then a combo box, but this issue happens to be with the combo where you can type in and select an option. So the 3 issues were the value, you could select a value, but it wouldn't stay after the command executed. The wildcard functions were not working. So if you're doing, again, a partial selection where you don't know the entire field or the entire option that you're trying to select, wildcards wouldn't work anymore. And then there were some other controls in some sections where when you click with the mouse, other things become enabled or other text displays on the screen. And so there were several issues related to that. We've actually wrapped that up today and we're testing it out. So the moral of the story is you're going to have to upgrade to 1094. If you upgrade to 1094, there's no script changes to it. So light lift on that front. Our friends, the pop-up menus, are back again. It seems like every 2 or 3 versions we have another change with these things, but the thing that was happening before was that we were not able to click on the menu item. So if you go to 42300, you have if you're trying to click one of these options from the menu, it will not go through. You won't get an error message either. Just know, again, you need to change your script or upgrade to 1094 with no changes to the script at all. The reason this has changed is because the way Soarian was designed, it was working in IE8 compatibility, and now as they're moving to this edge support, they have changed some of that how EMUE is or not EMUE, but how Soarian is represented now. It's moved to IE11 or edge. I'm not sure which mode it's in now, but that's what changed with this, and so we had to change some events on how to fire some of those things. So short story is update your script or update your EMUE version and you'll be in good shape. This one I mentioned at the top, but I'll just summarize it again. Stream opens in the current browser window. When you click on it now, it will open in a new web page. This one will require a command change. You will have to use the open additional web page in order to be able to get Stream open. So this is the syntax for that. There's documentation for it. I've included it also in the forum post. So it should be in many places. If you still need help with it, you can consult our documentation on the help file, or you can reach out to support if necessary. I will also mention that the smart names, I mentioned earlier that we were working on that, but out of 4,000, 4,500 elements that we have smart named, there were less than 200 that actually changed element strings. So even if you're not using smart names, and I'm not encouraging you to not do it, but if you aren't using smart names, there's not going to be a ton of changes that you have to make to your scripts if you're just using the traditional element string and identifying things. So that's good news, but again, I would encourage you to transition to that as soon as you can, because it does eliminate work down the road. And if you want to take advantage of this next feature that I'm talking about, it's going to be only supported through smart names. So there are controls, various controls in 42300 that basically don't work with our commands anymore with the way they were set up. And we are, instead of going back and trying to fix every single control, we are taking this new approach that's called Smart UI. And again, information that Cerner shared with us around the architecture of Soarian allows us to be able to go directly to the back end. And so there are some controls like this one to select the location and provider, where you've got the drop downs that have always kind of behaved a little bit weird with the EMUE, and trying to get the right events to fire so you can get the OK button to work. That's one place that's affected. That phone number field is another place that was affected that we found so far. So what we've done is for 42300, we're going to roll out a little bit of the Smart UI to address the areas that we need to address, so that we don't have to go and spend time double developing, if you will, working on Smart UI and then having to go back and individually work these controls. So the Smart UI has a lot of advantages to it. It's like I said before, we can interact directly with the back end through the JavaScript API services. If you use UI Builder, some of this stuff might sound familiar to you if you're doing customizations and things like that. What we are doing is using the control reference table and looking up the controls on the screen and updating the XML document, publishing back to the UI. So if you've done stuff with UI Builder, some of that stuff probably sounds familiar. Smart UI does bypass the normal approach that we've done by using the DOM, so the document object model that's in the background of IE, and searching through the HTML. So it is a bit faster as well. When you implement this, you'll see that there's some speed increases out of it. And one thing that I will say about it is not every screen in Soarian has the ability to be able to do that. It really depends. Some pages are set up to be able to do this and some are not. But we've got it set up in a way so that the Smart UI is not available. It'll default to the traditional approach that we've done before. Benefits: more reliable scripts across Soarian upgrades. That's really the challenge that we're trying to overcome. We have to react to element string changes. Every time something changes, we've got to go out and fix something, or we have to react to these UI control changes that I just mentioned, because the behaviors change because they're supporting new versions of a browser. So things behave differently means we've got to go do work, which means you guys have to update scripts. So if we go to the Smart UI and cover as much as we can with that, that's going to benefit everybody in the long run. Less maintenance for you, less maintenance for us as well. There will be performance improvements in this. Scripts will be faster. Some of those pages that have hundreds of controls on them, where you have to search through the HTML to go through and find the right control, is going to be significantly faster. Really fast for going through the UI versions. And then improved smart name usability. Another thing that we got from Cerner was each page in Soarian has a name associated with it that we can get a hold of. And so we're adding that into our smart name file, so that whenever you go to try to build your new commands, we're going to be able to filter and bring to the top the current page you're on. So one of the feedback we've gotten over the years is that it's difficult to find the right smart name to use because there are so many of them, and sometimes it's really hard to follow the naming conventions. But with this new functionality, we're going to be able to map to the page name, and so when you're currently on that page, then we're going to be able to bring to the top of the list the current page that you're on. So it'll help with building scripts. And if you're trying to convert scripts, it'll help you do that as well. So there's going to be some usability improvements on that front. Okay, so kind of wrapping this section of it up, 1094 is going to support some of the web commands. We're going to use it where we have to, where there are things that we are not addressing in the legacy way of dealing with Soarian. And that is because it's necessary for 42300. We've got a couple of the sites that are going live this month, so we want to be ready to be able to support that. We'll have a major release upcoming for the full functionality. plan to do that within the next month and a half. Again, Smart Name will require the use of Smart UI will require the use of smart names, and we are planning to make it backward compatible as well. That's kind of one of the cool things with this, is that we're building this so that you know, things don't change going forward. So if things don't change going forward, it means they, in most cases, haven't changed going backwards. Either the control array identifiers that we use for these controls are very consistent across the different versions of Soarian. So we're going to try to backfill the 42200 smart name file and make it available for people that are going on that version as well. That's probably going to be probably within the next month and a half as well. Okay. So that's, I want to pause right there for a second. Again, I'll check in with Mike and see if there are any questions out there. I know my little banner's popped up a couple of times, but I haven't seen anything. So.
No, there's nothing in the Q&A section.
Okay. All right, so that kind of wraps up what I wanted to talk about with the Soarian changes. A couple of things here at the end. One thing that we're doing, a lot of people always ask a lot about, you know, what other kinds of things is Databound working on, or what are you guys planning to offer? They enjoy working with us, and you know, they're kind of interested about the other things that we're doing. So some of you probably heard this before. We've been going into the claims side of things, denials. We've been doing some insurance discovery and verification as well over the years. And Claim Scout is a product that is designed to save time on claim follow-up. Provides better status information faster by going directly to payers, and it's really also designed to organize efficient load of work for folks to do. So we're currently in the development phase for that, and we're looking for pilots that want to partner with us. You know, there are incentives available for folks that want to join with us to help work through the initial phase of it. We do have a couple of folks that are working with us right now, but we'd love to have another few pilots to partner with us as well. So if that's something that you're thinking you might be interested in, I'm going to put up a poll here in just a minute and get your thoughts, but I'm going to talk through the other couple of things here too. Claim Scout is really, that's where all the focus is going these days, is how can we get paid faster. So a lot of the times we notice that people are going out to payer websites and trying to check the status on things that are aged claims, for example, where they're trying to figure out what status something is in. A lot of times payers have information available as soon as 3 days after a claim's been submitted. And then, you know, this gives you the ability not to have to wait for 835s to come back. You can actually start working things that need attention sooner rather than waiting for those things. And I know there's 277s that people use. 277s are kind of the standard transactions, but the information in it that they provide is very limited. There's not a lot of actionable information for people to be able to do, for example. So Claim Scout is designed to kind of pull that forward, all that work forward instead of waiting, and also help to try to shave off some time on your AR days as well. So that's one of the things we're working on right now. The other thing that we've kind of had in the works for a while, and we've got customers that are running this, is a product called Recover, which you might have heard about before. It's an insurance discovery service that we've been providing for hospitals that have large population Native American. It's been really successful in those areas, and we're working to see if we can move that into the general population of hospitals. Our goal that we want to try to do here is try to really prove that there is a need for it there. And I don't know if, you know, if the folks on this call are the people that have the answers to that or not, but if it sounds interesting that you would like to participate with us, really what we're trying to do is do a free test. There's no charge whatsoever. We're looking to get a couple of partners that want to, you know, go see if we can find some insurance for some of their claims that haven't been paid. So there's no obligation. You can use the information that we return to you, no charge. It's really more about proving a concept and proving that that we've got the ability to do something, that there's value there for people. So Recover is the insurance piece of it. Claim Scout is what we're working on to address the timeliness of recovering claim data. And then the last one is Soarian Smart UI, which there'll be a short really test period for that. Starting here within the next couple of weeks. And we're looking for some additional folks to test that out with us if you're interested in that as well. So I'm going to put up the poll really quick to see if we can get some feedback on some things that might be interesting. And if any of that sounds familiar to you, or if you want to take it back to some other folks, your colleagues that you work with, please do so. We're looking for partners to move forward and make some progress on it. And we'd love to partner with our customers. We love our customers. And if you, for some reason, if you wanted to select multiples, I know that poll was a single choice only. If there are something besides the Smart UI you wanted to participate in, send me an email, send Mike an email, just get in contact with us if you're interested in hearing more about the other two items that we talked about. But I appreciate your input. All right, so one last thing I want to cover and then we'll wrap up. I asked Chris Foster, he's our lead support analyst at Databound, and I asked him to, give me the top 5 things that support issues that he's had over like the last 2 or 3 months, and some of them not very surprising. Number 1 up there was the Soarian tables are now grids, so a lot of people that are converting over to 42200. I'm not going to beat that dead horse. We know what the issues are there, but check the resources that we have. There's plenty of documentation on it, but do feel free to reach out to us. It will be a challenge probably for learning it since there's no official training that we've done on it. The second thing is working with Excel, list processing, exporting. I guess Excel gets a lot of use in EMUE scripts. So the one thing I put up there was a training video as well that Lisa Atchison, one of our trainers, did a couple years ago. It's very detailed. It's about a 10-minute video that goes through how to read and write out of Excel. So if you've got questions about how to do that, I would probably consult there first as a kind of a self-serve resource if you wanted to do it that way. If you're looking for some specific help, I'm sure we can line up something from the support side or do a little quick training from one of our trainers to help support that as well. The configure web command, if you're doing Soarian, you're probably familiar with this. Again, some of the changes that happen with the new versions have required this command to be added in a lot of scripts. So that's one of the things that is missing in a lot of cases. If the click web element is not working correctly, you need to add this command in to be able to fire all the additional events necessary to click on an item. So if you're coming across things like that, you might want to give that a shot. The fourth one down there, selecting a checkbox in Soarian, they've been difficult to identify. Again, some of the structure of the pages changing has really made it a challenge to get some of these things to identify properly. One thing that will help is if you lock on the element type checkbox, which is kind of small, but hopefully you can see that down there in the lower left-hand corner. Kind of like we do with tables, we train people to, if you're looking for a table or a grid, to select that type and lock on. It'll be easier to find it on the page. And then lastly, this one's kind of seemed to not go away. We changed websites earlier in the year, and a lot of your existing accounts do not work anymore. And so a lot of you over the course of the last 6 months, as you've been trickling into the website, have had trouble logging in and signing up. The easiest way to fix that is just to sign up again. I know you've already got an account probably, that the way we were logging in before doesn't apply. We've changed the mechanism that we're using to log in. So first thing I would do is just trying to create a new account with your, and just follow the steps that it takes in there. It's really like a couple step process. You register, you get an email, you confirm them. In most cases, probably in 95, 97% of the cases, that solves the login issue. So If you happen to be experiencing any of these issues, here's, wanted to cover that real quick just to give you a heads up, and hopefully it'll save you some time or maybe some struggle. All right. And also, yeah, check your junk mail in case the emails happen to come in for the website. They may get funneled into your junk mail folder. So just go check it and make sure it's there if you didn't get it as you're signing up for the website. Okay, upcoming webinars, they seem to be a big hit for people. We get a lot of engagement there, and we like interacting with you guys and sharing information. So we've got a couple more coming up, one in about 2 weeks on the dashboard and the scheduling function, which we've wrapped up about 2 o'clock on Wednesday the 15th. And then we'll have another one once we get ready to launch the Smart UI. And that's been scheduled for right now for Wednesday, September the 12th. We're going to put sign-up pages out on our site, so check back for that. We'll also be sending out announcements to give you a heads up about when they're going to be available. Okay, so with that, I'm going to stop. Everybody is available to talk on the chat window. And if you have a question now, feel free to unmute yourself. We'll wait here for just a second. And if there aren't any questions, then we'll go ahead and wrap up and let everybody go. But any questions about today's presentation?
Kelly, I'm not seeing anything yet in the QA. Just as a reminder to everyone, if it's disappeared on your screen, you can go down to the very bottom and hover over the Zoom screen, and it should come up with a Q&A box down the bottom bar.
And also, if you need to unmute yourself, the unmute button will be there. Okay, I won't drag it out for the sake of holding out till 3 o'clock. So that's all the material that I had. So I appreciate everybody's attendance today. Again, lastly, if you want to go out, and our support website is out there. Our forum is where a lot of the goodies are that we're talking about with the changes that are coming. And so check it out, and we appreciate everybody joining. Thank you for coming. Yeah.
This is Eileen from Northwell Health. Just one quick question. When is 5.0.1094 coming out?
We are planning to start certifying that tomorrow, which means the goal now is to have it out by the end of the day tomorrow. Otherwise, it will be Monday.
Oh, okay, so soon.
Yep, very soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Well, thanks everybody. Have a good rest of the day, and we'll talk soon.